My name's Dean. I'm a person in long-term recovery, and this is Inside Addiction. My guest today is Albany County Sheriff Craig Apple. Craig, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So Craig, let's talk about current trends and what you're seeing in regards to addiction, arrests, incarceration, crime over the past 18 months.
Well, I can go back even a little further than that.
Okay.
I always tell everybody that around 36 months ago is when I knew something was going on.
So it's like 3 years ago.
3 years, a solid 3 years. We knew something was going on. We were seeing more drug arrests. I mean, look, at drug arrests are always peaks and valleys. I mean, back in the 80s and 90s, you had the crack cocaine, and then meth will come in for a little bit, and then ecstasy will come in, and MDMA will come in, and you'll get variations of marijuana have always floated around. But this heroin, about 3 years ago, came into the area, and it's always lingered in the back, but it was never really prevalent. It was expensive, and all of a sudden it's $6-7 a bag. Now it's maybe $8 to $9 a bag. 25 years ago, it was $25 a bag. So all of a sudden, the arrest started, and then some overdosing here and there, and a dead child, a dead housewife, a dead husband. We're like, what is going on here? And then it just hasn't let up.
Because a heroin addict of like the 1960s, inner city African American male,
Right.
Now we're seeing it pretty much
Everywhere.
anyone and everywhere.
It's everywhere. Our investigators, I meet with the unit commander almost every morning, where normally it would be every 4 or 5 days, and give me a quick briefing. And now it's almost every morning, because there's operations going on constantly about heroin takedowns. And and again, I've always said, and you've heard me say it 1,000 times, we can't arrest our way out of it. We've got to look for those mid-level to high-level dealers. Those low-level guys, you could pop 10 of them, and there'll be 12 more lined up because there's money in it. And most of them are feeding their own addiction on top of it.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Two questions. How do you distinguish the dealer from the addict? Because a lot of them do have to, sell to support their
Right.
own habit. And you've been in law enforcement for quite some time. So have you always felt this way?
No, not at all. Whenever I speak to an audience now, I tell everybody that, I was always a young, aggressive cop. Lock them up, lock them up, lock them up. I didn't even really care who was an addict or what was an addict. It didn't matter to me. If we had you, we arrested you, put you in. If we could flip you, whatever. And then, somewhere along the line, you either you mature as a cop, or the light comes on and you go, We're not winning this at all. I used to hear the war on drugs as a kid growing up. I heard it as a young officer, and I'm like, war? This isn't a war. We've lost that long time ago. So now you start to look at things like, we've really got to take a different focus with this. And I firmly believe that targeting that prevention and that awareness and having a treatment component, and you're always going to have that law enforcement. I tell everybody that we function on a triangle, and one point is law enforcement. And we're going to go out there and we're going to continue to try to flip people and try to work our way up and take that big fish down and try to put a dent in the trade a little bit. We know we're not going to stop it. Anybody who says that is just naive. There's just too much money in there. It's too prevalent. We took a guy down on Central Avenue a couple years ago with a couple pounds of pure heroin. He had fingers of heroin all over the place. They were secreting it within their bodies and running it up the throughway. We did dent the heroin trade in the Capital District for a couple of days, and we know that because we sent a couple days. We sent people out to buy, and they couldn't find heroin. But somebody that we know that person was shipping $25,000 every day or every other day down to Brooklyn. So with that said, somebody in Brooklyn's missing 150 grand.
Somebody wants that money and somebody wants that dope.
That's right. So I'm sure there was somebody right on a bus, right back up to Albany, and set up shop and get going. And sure as anything, a couple days go by and we're back in the same rut of buying heroin. So I firmly believe you're not going to arrest your way out of it, but if we can keep people from craving it, and people who are addicted, get them help and get them off of it, I think we then can, in fact, make a difference. And that's what we're really pushing. Even though we're a law enforcement agency, I know we're not going to win it by, like the one slide said, throwing handcuffs on people. We're not going to win that. But we can win it by killing that craving and preventing them from even getting that craving.
And we'll talk more about some of the efforts that you've particularly started in Albany County. But yeah, there's two sides to that: protect and serve.
Yeah, well, that's what I tell everybody, that you know, you look on the cars and you got the protect and serve, and the protecting is in fact the guys going out there and trying to keep it off our streets and keep our corners clean, and the serving part is the part that I think that a lot of law enforcement needs to work on. And you know, I know what we're doing within the county itself. I think that's really what we're supposed to do, is serve people. And I think one way of serving people is trying to get people to live a clean and healthy life. And again, stop that craving and stop that addiction. And people get off programs, they go out, they get jobs and everything else, and everybody wins. Cops win, community wins, taxpayers win. So we do have a lot of programs within the county. We've got some in the jail that are unheard of, but they're working and people are leaving there clean and sober. We're taking them, in some places we're taking them to transitional housing, taking them, not putting them on a bus going, hey, good luck to you, buddy. Because that was...
Make sure you transfer at Central and Quail.
That's right. Well, that was the old way of doing things. And they'd get on the bus and they'd be like, well, I got a free ride down, I got to go score a load. And, you know, here we go again. So I'd see them 3 days later, wave to them as they're coming back through processing. So nobody's winning there. And, you know, like with our veteran program, we have a Soldier On program. It's anything from PTSD to domestic violence, but in more cases than not, it's addiction. They're fighting addiction. And many cases it's opioids, sometimes it's alcohol. But we've put now probably 200 through it.
Wow.
We've had one person come back.
No kidding.
That's how you reduce recidivism. And what that is really, I'd love to take the credit for it, but really it's peer-to-peer counseling. It's intense counselors coming in from Soldier On in Pittsfield every day at no cost to the taxpayers whatsoever. But you keep 200 people out of jail, that's saving big money.
Well, and helping addicts is not going to put you or any of your officers out of a job at the end of the day.
No.
There's plenty of work for you guys.
There's plenty of work for us to do. But I think we need to focus on the serving part. And some people go, oh, it's ridiculous, you know, we're not here for that. But look, society has changed. And I think also that's what government is supposed to do, is help people. And I think that's what, you know, that's one of my primary goals in the sheriff's office, is helping people, keeping people out of jail and helping people lead a clean and healthy life. Everybody wins. And that's what we're focusing on. That's one of our main focuses actually within our department.
Craig, tell me about what you can tell me about some of the people and how the face of addiction has changed. And can you share just a couple stories about some of the experiences and people that you've ended up?
Well, I tell everybody that a lot of people don't want to hear about it. They live in a nice little bubble, and usually in suburbia New York, and they're like, I don't know anything about that. But I usually tell everybody, you know, whether the group is 10 or whether the group is 300, that when it touches you, you'll have a different outlook on it. And you'll then lose that stigma that's attached to it, that dirty disease and embarrassment and all of that. It is and addiction is in fact a disease. Yes, there's some crime and criminality and possessing and selling and everything else.
Comes with the territory, comes with the lifestyle.
Exactly, and it is in fact a disease. And some people, law enforcement included, still are in denial on that. You know, I've had people come to me that I've coached in baseball. I've had to go tell parents that their son who I coached is dead. I've had to tell kids that their mom who I graduated with or went to school with was dead. You know, I have a young man from Colonie who played baseball in jail right now for murder. Kid is, you know, he's a brilliant child and he's sitting in the county jail for murder because of just addiction. I have two young kids up in the hill towns of Albany County whose mom would get up every day and give the kids breakfast, and then she would get them on the bus and go for a walk. Well, one morning something changed a little bit. She got the kids breakfast and said, I'll be right back, and took a walk. She never came back. We found her 5 hours later in a ditch. So you would assume, oh boy, maybe she got struck by a mirror on a truck or something. No, she overdosed. So there's 2 kids who now will go through life without a mom because she overdosed. The signs are out there. The disease is out there. It is, in fact, it is just a beast that is out of control. The things that people do, I'll never forget being invited up to a Senate forum a couple of years back when things started to really peak. And I'm like, well, what do they don't really want to hear from me. So I reached out for a guy who was in recovery, and he came and told his story. And I heard him tell how he wakes up to this day. He's been clean now for a couple of years, and he wakes up to this day. He wakes up in the middle of the night, usually in sweats, having nightmares about the dirty things he had to do to sell himself in the back of a cab, everything he had to do to get that fix for that addiction. And that's not normal way of thinking, let's be real. I mean, it just takes over your mind, it takes over your body, and we're seeing it time and time again. I mean, we talked briefly about open up the paper. I look at the obituaries every morning, and I look for the suddenlies.
Died suddenly, 20 years old.
And I don't think more than one day will go by where you don't see that. Mm-hmm. Died suddenly. So people need to get past that stigma. They need to really focus on what their kids are doing. They really need to pay attention, get involved in their kids' lives, get involved in your mom and dad's lives, get involved in your siblings' lives, because it could be anybody. I remember one fella coming up to me one day after we left a forum and said, I know you focus on young kids, but old people have issues too. And I'm like, what do you mean? And it was about Senior Hope. And Brian was, he was chastising me for not taking care of the elderly the way that we should have regarding addiction. And I'm going, I can't imagine a grandma or a grandpa having an addiction issue, but they do. They get lonely, they'll get depressed, they'll take pills, whatever, from an injury, whatever the case may be. And this drug is just out of control.
Let's talk about some of the programs you've implemented in the Albany County Jail. One of them is called the SHARPS program.
Yeah, the SHARP program is a great program. We're very proud of it. It really is what it is, Dean, is it's a spin-off of the Soldier On program. And again, we've put 200 plus through, and we've had 1 come back. And the one that came back, honestly, isn't really fair because he was trying to manipulate the system, But anyway, we'll take the hit on the one. But the SHARP program is when somebody comes into the jail, we ask them, have you used drugs? Do you have addiction issues? Are you an addict? And if they say yes, do you want a shot at leading a clean and healthy life? And if they agree to it, we move them down to the SHARP wing where they go through an initial assessment. The SHARP wing holds about 20 to 25 people. I think 25 is the max.
So you've taken a whole wing of the Albany County Jail, and it's
Right.
just people that are seeking treatment and recovery from substance use disorder?
Yeah, and I don't really care about what your charge is.
Mm-hmm.
What I care about is, are you serious about wanting help? And then we'll go through a brief classification and assessment. We'll put them in there, and they can do peer-to-peer counseling again. We have a treatment facility that comes in, and they provide intense counseling.
So you actually have substance abuse counselors in the jail?
We have them in the jail. We have basically we have our own treatment center inside the jail. The problem that we have, Dean, is that a county jail, I could have you for 3 days, I could have you for 3 months. Mm-hmm. So what I try to do is get these guys clean, get them sober, getting them in that I want to stay clean mode, and then try to be a feeder program for like drug court or something to that effect. I mean, ideally, I'd love to keep these people for 6 months, but sometimes I can't. And then what we do is once they're clean and they're healthy, and just before they get out, we ask them if they would want to participate in our Vivitrol program. I like Vivitrol a lot because it's a non-narcotic, and as a police officer, we've always arrested people that have had Suboxone and methadone, and I mean, I've just never really been again, I'm not a counselor, but I've never been a big fan of taking a narcotic and to lean them off of one and put them on another. So I really like the Vivitrol because it is a non-narcotic, and I see that, I've seen the difference that it can do to people.
And it's a once-a-month injectionable shot.
Right.
Some of the other medication-assisted treatments in recovery, there's a black market for it on the street.
We will stay outside of certain places in Albany, and our investigators will buy methadone as these guys are getting it free. So this Vivitrol I really like. I guess it was created for alcohol in the 70s, and little did we know it works on opioids as well. But the first shot for our inmates is free. And then we're taking that inmate and releasing him, taking him physically to either a hospitality house or an ACCA, wherever their assessment fits them.
So the shot and the treatment is at no cost to taxpayers?
No cost to this program costs the taxpayers nothing. ACCA comes in and provides the counseling free for the county. They have a mini grant from Oasis. Oasis was very intrigued by this program because they want to, I believe, try to see how successful it will be and then take it and kind of run with it in other lockups or county jails or whatever the case may be. Right now, to me, it's successful. I mean, we've seen people go out and get help. They've been on the news. They've interviewed our people because I think some people want us to fail. They don't want to see it succeed, and it's successful, and we're proud of it. That's the in-house treatment facility. What we've done out on the street, because again, we're talking about that prevention awareness, treatment, and law enforcement completing that triangle. What we've done on the street is we've worked with CDTA, and we had them donate a bus to us. And we took the bus and we created a jail cell in the back, 4 feet. Regular jail cell, bars, jail lock, brass key, cot, toilet, sink. And we took all the seats and turned the seats around. And what we try to do is target young audiences, particularly high schools, health classes, PE classes. And we have the class come out and get in the bus. And then we bring a young person in recovery or a person in recovery who basically can relate to the audience that we're speaking to. And they stare at that person, and behind that person is the jail cell. So the whole concept is as you get on the bus, there's little footprints. You follow the footprints, and right here is a table with your marijuana, your alcohol and tobacco, your gateway drugs. And as you follow the footprints down, there's another table with your opioids, methamphetamines, alcohol again. And each table has numbers for Oasis and how to get help. They have addictions care, whatever the case, there's a whole bunch of treatment facilities there. And then again, if you don't get help, you follow the footprints and you go into that jail cell. And what we're trying to do is, yes, it's a little bit of a scared straight, but it's these young individuals in recovery that go, man, I was you. I was the captain of the football team. You know, I was the guy. I was the leader in the play. I was whatever. And then I got injured at a game, and I started taking, hydros, and I liked them. And then I broke into my, mom's medicine cabinet. And, when that was all gone, unfortunately, I'd wait for my neighbor to leave, and I'd break into their house. And then I got caught, and I got slapped on the wrist for stealing. And then I went and did my probation stint, whatever, and they said I'm a good kid, and they let me go. But it didn't address the problem. I didn't address the issue that I'm addicted to this junk. So now I hit my other neighbor's house, and I get a 6 and 5 split. But I still didn't address the issue. And next thing you know, I'm doing 1 1/3 to 3, or 2 1/3 to 7, or in some cases a homicide, and you're doing the rest of your life in jail at 18 years old. And this could happen to anybody, man. I mean, we know the stats of, 30-some%, 32, 34, I don't know, get addicted first-time use. And of that, 75% relapse. I mean, there's not much room for error there. And so I really think we need to focus on staying off it. But if you're on it, we got a plan for that too. So that's what we're doing. And I think we've been successful with it. But I think that people need to really focus on paying attention to what's going on around you. I mean, this is bad stuff, and it's destroying. It's spreading at a catastrophic rate. And everybody said, my God, you're going to scare people. I want them scared. I want them scared because I've never seen a drug take over a life like heroin has in so many cases of picking up young kids, picking up moms, picking up dads, brothers, whatever the case may be. And, in the other program that we do as well, if you're going to use, we train the inmates in Narcan. We have Catholic Charities come in, which is a great organization. Unfortunately, Narcan, when we first started to get it, was like $14 a kit. And then somebody said, well, my God, law enforcement needs this stuff, and now it's $30 a kit. So Catholic Charities, God bless them, has been nice enough to come up with kits. They train the inmates in how to use it. And if you go through the training, when you get out, you get the little blue Narcan kit. So maybe they can save, And I don't think they can do it to themselves, but maybe they can save their partner's life or somebody walking down the street or whatever the case may be. Or if, God forbid, they do relapse or something, maybe somebody can use their kit to save them.
Craig, do you think we've peaked with the heroin epidemic?
Not at all. Not at all. I think
it's going to get worse.
I don't want to say it's going to get worse. I just don't see it getting any better yet at all. There's not the slightest sign of getting better because there's too much darn money in it. And people are thriving on that. And they don't care about the loss of life. They're mixing this stuff with fentanyl, which is a deadly cocktail. They're mixing it now with a veterinarian drug down in Jersey. You know, every time I hear this around us in like a contiguous county or something like that, I'm like, oh, please, Lord, don't come into Albany County. Stay out of our county. Stay out of our state. We got pretty lucky with the fentanyl. You know, we did lose a few lives, but not as many. And no, I don't think it's peaked yet. I think maybe we've slowed a little bit because really fellas like yourself pushing that awareness, pushing that treatment. And I think that has made a difference, but I think we're still on a steady incline up because there's just too darn much money in this. And I don't think that the state has done enough. I certainly am very critical of them, and I think with just cause. Look, we're just a county, and the main reason we created the SHARP program was because we felt the state was stuck in the mud, and therefore we were stuck in the mud. And
they do a lot of talking.
They do an awesome amount of talking.
A lot of forums.
I've been to forums. I'm done with forums. You know, we went to one down at the assembly, and by the time it got all the way around the table, we were well into an hour. It was a 2-hour get-together. We were well over the hour limit, and we hadn't even introduced everybody yet. And accomplished absolutely nothing. 2 hours of my life I'll never get back. And I'm done with that. I'd rather go out and target audiences ourselves, take our bus to different places. We'll take that bus anywhere. Whoever's watching this, if they call us, let's not get crazy. I mean, we were invited to D.C., and there's no way the bus would make it. The bus was not going to make D.C. But
you've even expanded outside of Albany County.
Oh, we've been in Vermont. We've been in the Berkshires. We've been in the Adirondacks, up to Saranac. I will not deny anybody the chance of getting this information and hopefully saving a life. I think that, again, that's what we're supposed to do. And it doesn't cost us much money to do it. And unfortunately, there's so many young people in recovery that I think it helps them as well. So we get them at no cost. You know, we'll buy them lunch or something, and they can come and tell their story and share their story. And I think that's what hits home is when they see somebody up there that, oh man, that could have been me. You know, that could have been me. And listen, it's, you know, I'm also a parent. I've got 3 kids, and I cringe every time somebody's going to a college party or something like my one son's a police officer, but you know the other 2, you know, they go to a college party. I cringe because you don't know what's going on here and you can't control that atmosphere. But I just urge everybody, man, this stuff takes lives. It takes lives like nothing else I've ever seen. And when people, when it hits their family or an extended family member, they're going to understand. You know, I've had a county legislator reach out for me a couple weeks ago where it touched their family, and they're like, "Darn it, what do we got to do?" And I'm like, you know what? If I had the answers for that right now, I'd certainly do it. But sometimes I sit there and shake my head. I'm like, what else could we do? You know, what else should we do? And I think we just continually need to focus on that prevention and that awareness and hit them young and scare the daylights out of them and show them these dark and nasty stories. And when I heard that one addict about, he was riding in a car with his friends and he overdosed and they threw him out of the car moving into a mud puddle. They threw him in the mud puddle intentionally to get the cold water on him to try to revive him, and it worked, thank God. But when he tells the stories of the things he needed to do to get those few dollars for his, that alone should make somebody think about, you know, what the heck am I doing before I do it?
Craig, 2 questions. Why are you so passionate about this? Because not only law enforcement, I feel you're one of the biggest advocates for substance abuse treatment and recovery services. What makes you so passionate about this? And my second question is, why do you think programs like the SHARP programs and all of your efforts aren't being made in every single county by every single law enforcement agency, from the state to the county to the local to the village departments?
Well, regarding my passion for it, honestly, is I'm sick of seeing lives lost. I'm sick and tired of picking up dead bodies. We're sick and tired of telling moms and dads their kids aren't coming home. We've seen families wiped out completely. You know, I'm an elected official. I'm in a government capacity, and I think this is what we're supposed to do. And, you know, and things change and things evolve. And I think law enforcement can do so much more than just lock somebody up. I think law enforcement is in a position to change lives, and kids look up to that. And I think that there's nobody better to do it than local law enforcement that are out there. Regarding why isn't anybody else doing it, I think some of it comes down to resources. I think some of it comes down to that stigma for law enforcement that they're junkies, man. They're junkies, and we don't need to do anything, just lock them up. Cops don't accept change well. Criticism and change are two C's that cops don't like to hear. So I think that as things evolve, I think you'll see it. I think they're going to have to do it because we can't continue to just lose lives like this and sit back. At some point, you can't put your head on that pillow and close your eyes because you're not doing anything. There's every agency out there, every sheriff's agency out there, there's something that you can do to try to dent this, to try to just slow it a little bit, you know, just throw it down and throttle it down a little bit, and you can do it. We've been very fortunate. We got a great legislative body that allows me a lot of leeway to do good things, and that's what we do. And you know, not a day goes by where we're not out there going, what can we do? What can we do today to try to dent this? What can we do differently? CDTA just gave me another bus, a bigger one. So, you know, I think it just takes a matter of, you know, a little bit of ingenuity and just the passion to change lives, and that's what we try to do, and I think that's what we have to do as government.
Craig, I can't thank you enough for all you're doing. Keep up the great work. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Got it.